journalists in India, wake up, wake up. It's time to wake up. Stop reporting false allegations and wake up from the reality that you're living in.
Why? But the mainstream media, the largest television of India, is setting narrative for a national media.
You're talking about NDT now, right?
NDTV, Ask, ABP, they are not asking any critical questions.
It's baseless claims. It's undocumented or baseless and kind of rude. I'm just going to be very honest. It's really rude.
Amit Malviya, he is the head of BJP IT cell, call you delinquent for asking one question.
Because I'm young and a woman, it's very easy to make the story about me.
Cheap
And
way
the
of doing
internet can
something.
do that. The Indian media can do that.
You are not the first journalist that Amit Malviya or BJP IT cells has targeted.
My prime minister and the Norwegian government has made a choice here, I would say. And it's a choice where India for the great accomplishments, and then they have to kind of swallow the fact that, like, I think it's really a matter of what your work is, because I do respect that my prime minister.
Initially, that you were really targeted, that why don't you question your own officials?
I had like 3 or 4 critical questions to my prime minister, so
Definitely.
Nepal, I think
You'll
I could
feel
go to.
home.
That
You'll
would be
feel
great.
home. We have mountains, we have everything that just feels like a Norway. It will be a second home. You just come once. Why don't you take some question from the world freest media? This was a question from a Norwegian journalist. She asked to the Indian Prime Minister. This became a global debate on press freedom and a national issue in India. Let me phrase or quote Malala Yousafzai when she said, "One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world." Let me rephrase it. One child, one teacher, one book, one pen, one question, and one journalist can spark the entire systematic PR campaign that runs through the year. So I want to start very simply, not with Modi, not with Oslo, not with video that goes viral, not with the attention that you got. Miss Lee, who are you?
That's a good question. It's kind of funny because when I have all these articles in the media, Indian media, that's like, who is Heleling? And I laugh a little every time I saw one because I was like, I don't even know. So good luck figuring out. But at least I live in close to Oslo. I've been doing journalism for 5 years. I love it. It's a privilege and something I don't take lightly. And I've just a regular person in Oslo. I think very regular life. I go out with my friends sometimes, and we have dinners together, and that's how I do. And I tried to learn French too, but now
Okay.
I want to maybe try to learn a Asian language afterwards because that would be fun.
I will recommend you learning Urdu. It is a beautiful language and it is very poetic. If you ever got a chance, you do learn Arabic and Urdu. It's a very nice
Ooh, okay.
language.
I've heard they're difficult languages to learn.
Yes, those are like good languages.
But that would be very cool.
Yeah. So, Hallie, it's really hard to know yourself. That's why I asked you,
Yes,
who are
exactly.
you? Yeah. So it is very important to know yourself, and I want to tell the people that who are you actually? Okay. So my very first question goes to you, that the Norwegian officials invited you guys to have a press brief, right? And they briefed you that you don't ask question there. So don't you see that the officials is actually making a compromise to world freest media? Why don't you question them for not letting you ask question? And at the same,
but I did do that. I did do that.
Obviously,
I did do that on Tuesday. So I questioned my prime minister and I said, why do we do things to the beat of Moody's drum? But he didn't take any questions here. Why? And then he said that that was something that the prime minister of India press questions from the press is not something that he do, and they were comfortable accepting that from the Norwegian side too. And I question that.
Okay, sometimes it feels like that when they said that not to ask question, in a press brief. Like, you're already invited. You're the most important job that you do is asking questions. So if in
Yes.
future, if there would be another powerful person in your country and there would be a press brief and they will brief you not to ask questions, are you going to make it official that if you are inviting journalists, they are going to ask questions? This is what make them journalists. What efforts do you
But
make?
that's already kind of a contract here in Norway, that like you don't invite to a press conference or a press. I don't mind too much the language. It's funny that people have minded the language, because my prime minister in his press statement afterwards that he published on his website, he refers to this as a press conference. But to me, he could have referred to it as a press brief. I would have asked questions anyway, because that's my job. But yeah, it's already a contract here, like a unwritten contract, that a press conference or inviting the press in general means that you should be able to ask questions, because that is a free press's job. And if not, we're just a microphone
Yes.
without any questions. We're just we could just be propaganda.
Yes, initially that you were really targeted, that why don't you question your own officials? They do not allow you to questions and call you hypocrite. So what you'll tell them, that it's not hypocrisy, it's just a misunderstanding that people are making assumptions about you.
I've already questioned I had like 3 or 4 critical questions to my prime minister. So
Definitely, I'm coming to
I
it.
think I did my job there as well. I also questioned him for not taking the reporters from India's questions in the first press conference, the one
Yes.
where the viral video happened. And there, his office said to me in that video that was also published, "We'll do that later today," and they did do that later today. But yeah, I
Yes.
did follow that beat too, to make sure that my Indian colleagues here in Norway, since my subject of the week was press freedom, it was very important to me that the
Yes.
Indian colleagues also had access to the prime minister, or at least that my questions also involved them.
Okay, Yera, I asked you a questions that when you confronted your prime minister, why don't he take Indian equally important for you, right?
Yes, and it really is, and I don't think like it's not really for me about who I am or why I do the things I do. For me, it was really just that's my job to, and in this case, since it was such a weird setup or frame with no questions asked in plenum with both prime ministers. That's why the whole frame was kind of my questions. My questions was around the whole frame of it all. So yeah, it was important for me to try to get the Indian journalists also access with my prime minister, and luckily they did. They had planned that later that day. But I
Definitely.
think still he should have taken time just from the start.
Yes, that shows your prime minister does host a press brief and answers the questions, and that shows how free media appears in your country. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it is important to,
yeah, it is. It does. You asked question, why do Norway trust India? You further says there is a violation of human right, and you further said taking critical questions from a prime minister when he will be taking questions. But while responding, MEA, the Ministry of External Affairs, respond in a very vague way. It sounded like a teacher lecturing a student of standard 10, teaching him social studies rather than being specific. So when you see a diplomat acting like a politician, how do you see that? That you didn't get an answer that you were seeking. Definitely the people with a conscious mind definitely see that. The question was something different. He doesn't address your question in a specific way, the way it should be addressed. And you confronted him in front. So when a
Yeah.
diplomat like that in a global platform behave like a politician, how do you see as a journalist?
Well, for me, I was mostly trying to get an answer from the MEA. I just didn't manage to. I tried also after he talked for some time. I tried to interrupt him and redirect him back to the press freedom and human rights violations topics, but he wasn't interested in discussing that. So then I really can't do anything more because I tried to interrupt a few times and he just wanted to talk about COVID-19 and
Yes, exactly.
yoga. And that's his, I guess that's his choice. And I, I didn't become any smarter on whether, or like, I didn't learn anything new about maybe policies that India would implement to secure human rights across the nation, or just maybe policies that they're looking into in the future about holding press conferences. I'm sure it's because they don't have any of those policies present, but
Exactly.
it could have been a way for them to actually open up about the subject and discuss what are we struggling with, um, how can we make it better, and what are we doing. But I think it's one of those things where, because they're also doing so much wrong on this matter, why would they start talking about this?
Yes, it's really hard to have your own mistakes, and broadcasters to talk about
Yeah.
it. Accepting it is a hard job. In a country like India, they really fears about journalists. That's why they are not making any kind of official interview. Otherwise, they will be confronted for their mistakes. I don't know why the leaders who take responsibility doesn't seems to be accountable in India. I further ask one more specific question. You were referring to human right violation. What exactly you were referring for human right violations?
So the week before I had because we had to sign up before, like it was, I think we had to sign up on the Tuesday. No, I think it was Thursday that we had to sign up for the press brief, and then I started doing my research. And I rely on international reports such as Amnesty and also Human Rights Watch. And for example, Amnesty writes that the human rights situation sharply deteriorated as authorities continued their assault on dissent. Sedation and anti-terror laws were used to criminalize journalists, comedians, academics, and students exercising their right to freedom of
Yes,
expression. And I could continue reading that, and I could also, yeah, there's a lot.
there's a
So,
lot.
and there's a lot of also specific
Mhm.
stories. And I haven't wanted to go into any of the specific stories because it would, since I'm now in the whole
Yeah.
fire, I'm in fire, or I'm in thinking, I just don't want to do any factual mistakes because I do recognize that I read this story
Mhm.
somewhere, or I read it in Human Rights Watch or Amnesty or Reporters Without Borders, but there are still a lot I have to learn about the culture of India and also religion and the history. So I didn't want to. I don't want to go into very specific episodes before I'm also able to understand more about the cultural contexts.
Okay, done.
That's why I don't mention Kashmir or any other like very specific conflicts that you've heard about, you read about.
Yes,
But I
definitely.
also recognize that if I start talking to journalists about that, I will definitely be able to suddenly have misunderstood something, say something wrong, maybe something is unfactual, and yeah,
Yes.
can't go into that.
I want to share a specific fact as you were talking that you are not aware of exact things that MNST or any international organization talking. In India, journalists are not just attacked in the social media. They are arrested under UAPA Act counterterrorism law. A fact checker, Mohammad Juvair, he was jailed for a tweet that he posted 4 years ago. Mukesh Chandrasekhar, he was killed. Irfan Mehraz has been in pri- pre-trial detention for 3 years. Can you imagine how many journalists need to be destroyed and how dangerous it is for a democracy when journalists are punished for questioning? It is sad, and there are
Actually,
countless.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's a mad world we live in where even in 2026, journalists can't report on their work or report from their countries and be protected by press freedom rights. It's a very dire situation, and it makes me very like it shakes something within me. And also that's what I'm hoping, that I don't think I don't see myself as some sort of like, I didn't change a lot, but I hope maybe I could be seen as a conversation starter. That we started the conversation about press freedom in India. That would be great, but I think that like the best way forward is to highlight some of the cases of the amazing journalists and very strong and fearless journalists on the ground in India that are still committed to truthful and accurate reporting, who are working in much harder conditions than I probably ever will.
Yes, Masling, definitely working in a high pressure society where the government watch you as a watchdog if you said anything about the government or anything like that. It's really hard for a journalist. Like, what do you say to the Indian
Yeah.
public who gives you a lot of love for questioning? In the same time, the journalists in India have a terrible situations. They are facing a lot of things for bringing that to them. How do you think that you could convey a message to Indians that their journalists are much more important to preserve because they are really a poor that is doing a great job in their country?
Yeah, good question. So the thing is that, like with this, it's there are probably both. This is just the way I see it.
Mhm.
First and foremost, there are journalists in India that are still doing hard work in
Obviously.
India and still challenging the status quo of how reporting in India should go. They're risking their lives, you know. That's one. And then there might be journalists in the systems of these media networks and that are working in more the traditional medias of India that are still trying their best to work within the systems, but also deliver news to the population. And, you know, there are many ways to do this. And then there's also journalists outside of India, but that are Indian journalists who might have moved places like Berlin or the United States, and they have a much better way of doing reporting as well, because they know their region, they know their country, but they can also sit a little bit more, um, like they're a little bit safer in the country they reside in. So I think there's just so much like, so I can't really speak to exactly how it should work, but I think that one thing that India does have is elections. So you really pick, you get the leaders you pick, you know. It's really that simple, that like, let's say press freedom is something you care about, then you should find a politician and vote for him, either if it's the state elections or other in the bigger elections, of course.
Yes,
You find a politician that prioritizes that and also have direct ways of securing that.
obviously. I'll ask you one question, Miss Thing. It is
Yeah, of course.
seen it is seen that the ruling party is playing a psychological game, that creating a
Mhm.
narrative about political devotee. If a political party brings a policy, you have to be devotee. When you ask the question, it is portrayed as you are asking something that is anti-India. So asking a
Mm.
question is represented as a something that you have done something great things, something bad to the country. So political devoteeness is portrait. If you are nationalist, you are political devotee. If you are not political devotee, you are not a nationalist. If you are ask a right question, you became anti-national. You could be anytime arrested for anything you don't know. Law is really used. So how do you
Yeah.
see this, that when entire psychology game is running to create a political devotee? Because in India still people suffer, they are not well educated. Even if they are educated, they are rooted with other things which is used for making them a political devotee. Political devotee is dangerous. Your nationalism doesn't define your political devotee, and being you are a political devotee doesn't make you nationalist. How do you see this entire campaign?
I honestly, I'm very speechless of it all because it's such a interesting media system in general that it's mind blowing to me to see all the, yeah, as you say, the psychology of it. that it's constantly just having to think about how things look, how things can be altered. I also, this is something I noticed this week, that um, and the way I was framed by some of the journalists was very interesting.
Yes, I do have a question
So
on that. Don't worry, I have a long
yeah,
list of questions. We're gonna enjoy it.
yeah, so it's just, I think for now, the journalists of India know how they can report. The people that are still seeking truthful journalism know how they can do that in the best way that also protects them. And that, but I do think that's the also thing that I think there's a time now for more solidarity from other countries in the world, such as you and me. We sit from a little bit of a more privileged places of the world. Nepal is at least under 100 on
Yes,
the
it
Press
is.
Freedom Index.
It is like
I
74.
think you're under 90 as well.
Yes, it is
So you
74.
have, and you had a big change. I read a little bit about it earlier back in 2008. And I think that's also, you can kind of see how quickly something can shift when power shifts. So that's one of those things. So Nepal, I think, is a great country for people of India to look to, because look how it changed in 2008. You know, you're much safer to report today than you were before that. You know.
Yes, definitely. Nepal is a great country to look. We have doing a lot, and the people are here are lovely. They do understand democracy. They do
Yeah,
understand
and you have
everything.
so it's a great textbook example of something. But of course, it's always difficult because India is such a large
Large
country,
space.
so
Yeah.
it's gonna take so much more. But it's still nice. I think it's nice to be able to see those types of shifts. Look to other countries, what happened there before, and then to get some inspiration. That's what I would do in India as well.
Definitely, I would like to invite you to
But
come Nepal.
it's so also so like, that's why I don't like to be like, oh, you should do this, you should do this, because it's just coming from me, which is coming from a very privileged corner of the world. So it's
Yes,
like, I don't know about on ground reporting in India. So, and
definitely.
I tried to be very honest about that, but not a lot of people. Some of the people that want to frame me, they will always just want to frame me as dumb anyways. So I don't
Yes.
mind. They got to do what they got to do.
Yes, Miss Ling, as you said, you don't know the ground realities. It is said like only wearer knows where Sue's pinch is. So exactly sitting in a studio or a room, we could not imagine the situations of the ground
Exactly.
reporters. But we do encourage them to keep doing that, and we do know that they are doing a great job, and we will keep speaking for the freedom of the press. At least we could do that.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a thing that, like, and also I actually was talking to the Australian broadcast. I think it's ABC,
Okay.
and their morning radio show.
Okay.
And they asked me, there are talks about Moody coming back to Australia.
Okay.
And I was like, oh wow, already. And they were like, what is your message to journalists? And I was just like,
Ask some
you,
questions.
Australia too? Yeah, it's a great question. Australia too, super privileged country.
Yes.
You should also over there ask questions, or try to ask Woody questions, and try to ask him critical questions, and not just if he likes Australia, you know.
Obviously.
That's not good journalism.
This is not a
Not when
good
it comes to
journalism.
him. That's something you can ask. If you have many questions, you can ask him that. If like you've been able to get a 1-2 responses, and you just want to drag a little bit more out of him, yeah, like then you can do that. But you can't start with that at least.
Yes, my next question would be like, I want to ask you about the speed with what happened. Within hours, you were subjected. A narrative is built against you and broadcasted to the millions that you are a Chinese spy or a foreign plant or something like anti-India conspiracy. How do you see this? It is fun to watch them without evidence, without anything. They trying to prove a point
Exactly.
to a millions
Thank you for
people,
pointing
and
it
again a
out,
psychological
because
game is
that's what
going
it
on.
is. You know, it's baseless claims. It's undocumented or baseless and kind of rude. I'm just gonna be very honest. It's really rude. So but it's baseless and undocumented, and it's serious allegations. Like, let's say I was a Chinese spy, then I would be going to jail, you know? So it's a serious allegation, and you don't have any documentation for it. So you can push that narrative as much as you like, but they're the they're the clowns of that story, you know, because you don't have anything that documents that, and I have no ties to the Chinese government.
Yes, I have one more question.
Zero ties.
Do
Yeah, go
you
ahead.
do you see the psychological game behind portraying you as spy? You know, millions of people watch it without verifying it because they do not have time. They believe
Yeah.
that a media is okay. So a narrative is built. This is how a narrative is psychological narrative is made to make the mind of the citizen slave. How do you see that when at a huge level a political party is pushing a psychological narrative to huge number of people? It will be a study later in the history or maybe in future how this happens. A huge mass were played, like, you know, a millions people are watching you and you are making a baseless claim sitting on a national television. It's a reckless things to see. Even as a student, we see it like how could you have a confidence to speak something that is baseless? How do you see that to just fool the peoples because they do not have time, because they are busy in earning?
Yeah. It's I can't force anyone to. I can't force any journalist in India to do objective reporting, but I would ask them to just wake up. Wake up. It's time to wake up. You can turn around. Stop reporting false allegations. You can seek truthful reporting and wake up from the reality that you're living in, and start actually listening to the independent journalists of India, and also other publications such as Policy Wire. You know,
Okay, yes, I do know.
I didn't have any knowledge of all these networks, the independent ones.
Yes, they're good. They're doing their
Before,
lot, and they're doing good.
yes, and now I've been able to, like, and I, for example, with The Wire,
Yes.
I really appreciate them because they're actually really trying to follow the meta story for me, which is really nice that they do that. And like, okay, we see that there's a foreign journalists that are now being attacked by probably what they call IT cells. I don't know.
I'll tell you about it. I'm
100%
coming to it.
confirm.
Just the next question
Yeah.
is a IT cell. You're so good at
So
everything
I'm
you're
just
bringing it for
so
me.
thankful that Policy Wire is actually looking into it and also pushing back on Meta, you know, and
Yes.
trying to get answers from Meta, because I that is something no one in Norway has tried to do either, you know. So it's nice that that storyline is actually
The Wire
something
had-
that's interesting to the Wire.
The Wire has done great job questioning Meta that why are you doing this? If you as a platform
Yeah.
start being politically correct, what is the purpose of you? Your purpose is to be connect the peoples from different worlds. So it cost you 72 hours, right? 72 hours your Insta was shut down. How do you see that this is a cost for a free journalist? If you pay this cost, at the same time other people are paying other cost. It's you being feeling
Yeah.
so privileged and sad at the same time. How this duality hits you sometime when you think about it.
Yeah, I think that, like, for me, if let's say I was closed out of Instagram for the rest of my life, it's okay, you know.
Yeah, it
I've
does
had
okay.
my days on Instagram. It's been 15 years. I would be fine. I think I think also at some point in the future we'll shift away from the mass social media lifestyle that we have now, because one thing I noticed this week is it's so draining too, you know.
Yeah, it is
So
like
the only thing I was actually more worried about losing Facebook, because on Facebook, that's where I keep like connections from my entire past, you know, which is weird.
Yes.
I know maybe you guys don't use Facebook that often as we do,
Yes.
but here it's super common to use. And also, like, I have my friends, I lived in America, and I have a lot of friends from America on Facebook. So that was my one like concern, was like, oh my God, I don't have a phone book with all these names and numbers, you know.
Definitely good people doesn't come regularly. It's take times to make good people,
Yeah.
right? And losing them is really something that hurts you?
That would have been a bigger crisis, because on Instagram it's like, okay, I don't post. I only mostly post vacation photos on Instagram, and now I want to try to do more journalism on there, because I also just I just started this job 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So what I will be reporting on is really more Norwegian politics, Norwegian economy, but I do cover state visits as
Okay.
well.
Okay,
So it's
great.
like
Do I tell you this? This is the very first interview of my entire life that I'm having with you.
really.
Yes, this is the
Oh,
very
you're doing
first
so
time.
well.
Yes,
I would
thank
have
you.
never guessed. I would have never guessed.
Yeah, this is
No,
the.
you're a great interviewer.
Thank you for that.
You should not do the controlling and taxing and jump straight to journalism.
Yes,
I'm just kidding.
obviously we're
But no,
looking at.
but I think it's good to have that bachelor, or was it a master?
No, it's a bachelor. I'm still in
Yeah.
bachelor's, so I'll do that
That's
definitely.
that's a good bachelor to have as a journalist, I think, especially in the countries that Asian countries, because the systems are just so big there.
Yes, you need to understand how this entire administration work. One question that I would like to ask you, the most disturbing part, what happened to you, was not the BJP IT cell. IT cell, do you understand? There is a
Yeah,
wing.
the BGP IT cells, yeah.
Yes. The most disturbing part, what happened to you, was not BJP IT cell attacking you. That was expected when you post that there would be backlashes, right? But the mainstream media, the largest television of India, following the same narrative, word to word. How do you see that a political party IT cell is setting narrative on a national television? How mess it is, and how you see it as a failure of media? How we look at this, that a BJP IT cell, a ruling party, is setting narrative for a national media. It's sad. How do you see this?
You're talking about NDTV now, right?
Uh, Maybe many mainstream NDTV, let's name NDTV, Aztak, ABP, they are not asking any critical questions, and they are following
No.
the exact narrative that was set by a BJP IT cell. You were responded first by BJP IT cell. You were not responded by the media. They were the beginning, and
What
that's
I will
followed.
say is that it's again the thing that I can't force anyone to report truthfully, but yeah, it's a dire situation when a 28-year-old in Norway gets more critical questions than a leader of the world's largest economy.
Yes,
That's sad, you know.
definitely. I was watching an interview of you at NDTP. They were connecting your publications to Labour Party, and they were questioning about racism and all.
Yeah,
They
it
did a
was
lot of
crazy.
research of questioning you, but where they were from last 12 years that they could not get a one critical question for their prime minister. How you see this hypocrisy?
I think I'm because I haven't gone in. I haven't seen all the interviews that they did with politicians the last year, so I can't speak to if there's been critical questions. But in general, I just think that it was just a very interesting episode to be on that show, and also to be on other shows, because I was just like, I am not the leader of one of the world's largest economies.
Yes.
I am not responsible for gas prices, unemployment rates, or any other concerns of regular people in India.
Yes.
And I do think that it's important to start working for them instead of working for other people's interest. And no one should work for, and no one in the media should work for anyone other than their audience. So that's the kind of contract is with the audience, and of course you have your employer. So I work for my employer,
Yeah,
but I'm
definitely.
also always trying to cater to the audience that we have. But I will say that it was just a surrealistic moment, and it was interesting. And but I'm also to some extent thankful that I was able to go on there, because we did lift press freedom perspective there, and I did get to argue for why things went down the way it went down. And then, of course, I did sometimes feel like they tried to frame me as just someone that's dumb and uneducated. but also, for example, when I said that I love Indian food and yoga, that was as like I was trying to tie it back to the press conference on Monday, like like I do love Indian food and yoga, but then they were just trying to make me look dumb. But I was really referring to the fact that the MEA on Monday had taken yoga and lifted that in his answers to my question.
Yes,
But
like
that's the thing that like the frame, if the frame is already set, then they weren't going to listen anyway, and I didn't consider that when I took that interview. But I think I still would have gone on either way, because
yes,
I think some viewers probably saw that and thought, okay, I think I understand that young lady's perspective, and I think a little bit more critically about press freedom in India right now,
yes,
So
definitely.
someone might have thought it was smart, others might have not, and that's fine.
It's not someone, it's a millions people who thought it is really smart.
Hopefully.
Yes, you are the
Hopefully.
key point to let it come out, because it was buried. About nobody was talking about the oppressed and censored media in India. It was like buried.
Really? No?
Like they were talking not in a global stage like we are talking. I'm from Nepal, you're from Norway,
Yeah.
and we are talking
Yeah,
about the
yeah,
press
of
freedom.
course.
This was not the case.
But I'm happy. I think I'm happy if I was able to just facilitate some conversations. That's nice,
Yes.
And then I think that like it's really like the Indian journalists on the ground that have to do the real heavy lifting in their country, of course. And it's that's I wish I could help them more, and I will try to use my new platform to highlight some of the stories that they. I think that's the best way moving forward. I wanted to maybe have conversations with them and all, but I think the best way is to actually just repost their work,
Okay,
and comment on that.
let me offer you something. Like, I'm a student of chartered accountancy in India. So if anything you want to do in India, I'm here for you. Anything on the ground, I'm a student in India. I'm associated with the professional organization. So anytime you feel that you want to do something on the ground or you want to know something, I'm here for you.
Oh,
Anytime
thank
do
you.
text me.
That's great. I would love to do that. I don't know enough about security in my situation right now to actually do any ground reporting in India.
No,
I
don't
think
do
I would
that
have to
right
wait
now.
for a little bit.
Yes, but do come to Nepal. It is really lovable country. It is great country. I invite you.
Nepal, I think
You'll
I could
feel
go to.
home. You'll
That would be
feel
great.
home. We have mountains. We have everything that is for that just feels like a Norway. It will be a second home. You just come once. So I'll ask you two more nicest question that I
Yeah,
think
go
is a
ahead.
nice. Okay.
Yeah, of
So
course.
Amit Malviya, he is a head of BJP IT cell. Call you delinquent for asking one question.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, so he does.
That's crazy.
So you are not the first journalist that Amit Malviya or BJP IT cells has targeted. Sabnira Siddiqui, a journalist of US, when she asks question to the Prime Minister when he was in US, she was racially targeted for being Muslim when she asks what you are doing for the security of Muslim minorities and other minorities. So
Yeah.
you see, some when you ask question to the powers, the BJP IT cells and others supporters comes at you aggressively to race to harass you. Even the White House has to come and say, stop harassing the journalist. What kind of harassment you are facing asking the questions, what's going in your case, and how do you see when a foreign journalist like Sabrina Siddiqui has been harassed? How do you see as a journalist?
Well, of course, it's alarming that I read that it have happened to other people before, but I don't understand how a BGP IT cell works. I haven't had that much time to read about it. I
Okay.
just read something in one of those playbooks I read here and there. But I'm still after I've answered as many interviews as, because I still have interview requests coming in. So
Obviously.
after I've done that, I would like to read more about it and figure out what's going on,
Okay.
But
done.
I don't know. It's sad that it happens, because it's of course a way to try to shut down discussions from the start, you know.
Yeah.
Then if they close my account, then uh, I don't think it could shut down the discussion now. So
No.
I think I don't think they would have accomplished that much by shutting down my accounts, because at the end of the day, my work is kind of the work I could do was the work that I did, you know.
Yes,
I could have,
definitely.
of course, I wish I could have asked even more questions and had better answers, but the prime minister has left Norway. I think also he has left Europe now, because he was in Italy for a few days, and
Yes.
now he's I'm assuming he's back in. Yeah, he must be, because Marco Rubio, of course, is in India today.
Yes.
But yeah, that's kind of that's the that's how it is, you know.
I ask
I'm sorry,
you.
I'm deflecting.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. We are going. I ask you one question that we see in a different part of world. Journalists have been killed. In Israel, we
Yeah.
see a lot of journalists lost their life. Do you fear that some kind, when you sleep someday you may be reporting somewhere and no from nowhere someone comes and hits you for no reasons? How does it
Mm.
feels when you are personally targeted for questioning, when world remains silent?
I don't have any like specific fear right now,
Mm-hmm.
but um, I do understand that in India, the journalists there have fear, and I probably would have had that too in India.
Yes.
But I think I'm pretty safe here.
Okay, that's good. But I'm asking, what if you are somewhere out of Norway or in any
Mm.
zone where you are uncomfortable and you were like hit by some unknown source? How does it comes to you when you personally start taking some kind that type of thought? It may happens, right?
Yeah.
It is happening, it
Yeah, of
may
course,
happen.
it's happening all over the world. Also, not just journalists, but other outspoken people, you know?
Yes.
So, um, I think for me, it's more one of those things where I have to evaluate where I am.
Yeah.
And then right now, I'll be probably reporting from mostly Norway for like at least 5 to 6 years.
Yes.
But I would love to do some reporting from Asia too at some point. But yeah, it's crazy. And I guess if I were to go to India, I would have had to get security.
Yes, you maybe need, but Indian people at the same time are loving, but we don't know
Yes, you are.
when
Yeah, of course.
when you
No,
will be at a
but I
wrong
think
time at a
I
wrong
think
place.
I think let's say I were to go to India this year, I would get security,
Yeah.
and just so that I feel safe, you know, because it's not about not trusting the Indian people. It's about not trusting
The
the
systematic
part of the
operations.
population, that doesn't wish me well, and that's the people that are creating deep fakes of me, or the
Yeah.
people creating um, like or calling me a whore, a terrorist, a Chinese spy. Like those people obviously don't want me well, and I don't know to what extent that would be violent or not. I don't think most would be violent at all, but yeah, I would definitely get a bodyguard or something if I were to go to India,
Definitely, Indian
just for the
people are
safety.
lovable, but who knows? Maybe sometime you end up at a wrong place at a wrong time.
Yeah.
So you cannot take
Oh
that
yeah, and
risk.
also that's very important to say. Like the Indian people, wow, they've blown my mind the way they've
Okay.
been so generous
Yeah, they
with
are.
their messages, and they've written to me extensive messages telling me about their story, and being very thankful. And I've tried to say to those that I've been able to respond to, I was only doing my job, and I'm happy that it reached you
Yes, my mama
and
is.
that you appreciated it.
Yes. My mama is Indian, okay, and my father is Nepali.
Oh
So
wow.
I'm very rooted with India. And I do speak
Oh, that's so
very
cool.
nice Hindi, and we are very cultured and rooted with each other. So it's good to go and see the exactly. I know what happens in the ground. I do know because I keep going, I keep moving.
Yeah.
Yes, on November 14, I was in Delhi and I came
Mm.
back then. because I was sick because of high pollutions in Delhi. So I came back. I asked you one question. Norway just awarded Modi its highest civilian honor. The same day you
Oh yeah.
challenged him on a press freedom. Do you know that Mr. Narendra Modi has been accused of mishandling 2002 Gujarat riots, where hundreds and thousands of people lost their life? Do
Oh
How do you
yeah.
think this that Norway government do not consider this thing before giving? Why you didn't had a question? And I have a further one more question on this. Have you heard about Ab- when Asad al-Basr thrown from Syria, Abu Muhammad al-Julani took the throne, okay, of Syria. He was a terrorist. He was an announced terrorist with 10 million bounty on his head by FBI. Later, we see Trump shaking hand with him. How do you see when world powers changes their color like chameleon? How do you see that?
Mhm.
And what
Good
is the role of?
question. Good question. Yeah, I think it's really a matter of what your work is, because I do respect that my prime minister and the Norwegian government has made a choice here, I would say. And it's the choice where they choose to look to India for the great accomplishments. And then they have to kind of swallow the fact that, like, there's human rights violations here. Oh, they're not doing that great on press freedom.
Okay.
Like there are those types of things, and I think they just made a choice that they'll prioritize the greatness of India, and
Okay.
then do utilize hopefully. I kind of thought it was a little bit when I asked my prime minister on that. He did say that like we chose some cooperation and something in the lines of, and then we can also uh, work together and learn from each other. And that's Støre, my prime minister. He's very. Sometimes people in Norway call him the foreign minister because foreign policy is like his specialty. um, so I think there is some sort of a, like I wouldn't say there's a plan, but there's some sort of thought that maybe Norway could do some soft power under the table suggestions with this cooperation.
So
That's what I think. But that's just my thoughts when my prime minister said and then we can learn from each other. He says it in a non-aggressive way, but there's something underneath there, like there's something in the tone that's like we learn from each other, and maybe that means that we learn about renewable energy
yes.
um, and the geopolitical stability, that one trades that, but also that maybe Norway can give some takes on the situation in India from time to time. I don't know. That's just speculation.
Okay, that's good. But this is what maybe individual may thought that you may do something that is not good for the society, and later when you became powerful with anything, you would be respected. In the case of Muhammad Abu Al Julani, he was a he I what I should call him a terrorist or now is a state person, because the FBI said that he was a terrorist with a 10 million bounty. Right now they are doing good business with each other. How do you see that? I ask you again, how do you see when powerful persons start changing the narrative, changing the colors? First you start building a narrative into your people, you start making hate them for whatever reasons, and later when they agree to your terms, you are changing. Now he's a gentleman, it's okay, we can consider him. How do you see that?
I think it's just the way they decided to do diplomacy, that this is diplomacy. And luckily for us in the press, our job is different. So that's also like they have to try to um, like make relations as great as possible, whereas we in the press have the opportunity to be outside that whole system and
Yes.
criticize.
Okay, Norway press freedom was not built overnight. It took generation of journalists who refused to stay silent. What is your message to young Indian journalists who want to build same culture in their country?
Well, that's such a tough question and so difficult, but a good question. But it's more one of those things where it's like I don't I don't want to say anything that can put anyone in danger. So since I don't know that much about reporting on the ground, what I will say is in reporting on the ground in India, what I will say is I would, if I were a young reporter in India and working under these conditions, I would try to get as much knowledge from independent journalists or journalists in uh, those that are still critical and that are working in media organizations, and also maybe from journalists abroad about what it is important to think about. That's my first thing I would do, is just try to think what what are all the things that can happen in this reporting environment, and how can I do my job of being a critical and honest and truth-seeking journalist, knowing all of these things. So I would just try to seek out a large network of reporters that you, so also that when a crisis happens, you can back each other.
If there is a young Indian journalist who is watching our interview, sitting in a small town with a limited resources, just say with a phone, what will be your personal message to him or her? How they will evolve? You were not a great journalist then. You were just doing your job as a normal journalist. One incident make you so big that you and I from two different time zones are talking. So what will be the message to
That's
them?
really nice. No, I think for me the message is that, like, I've done a lot of reporting and on a lot of different things, and I was in the US in 2024, and I tried to talk to all these big shot politicians over there, and I was very often unsuccessful. So I think it's important to just keep trying and keep thinking what's right to do and what's right reporting at this moment. And then I didn't I didn't want the moment to be like it went, or like I didn't want to create the moment for myself. But I'm very glad that the press freedom issue was lifted, but I would have liked it to be about the press freedom. So, but then I think it's because I'm young and a woman, it's very easy to make the story about me.
Yes, it does.
And that's what they did.
Yeah.
And they have
That's a
all,
cheap
and the
way of
internet
doing
can
something.
do that. The Indian media can do that, but I would have liked it to be about press freedom. And I think as long as you like try to have a good storyline, and then like in another world, maybe it would have been just about the press freedom, and then it could have been more like this question sparked outrage, and then you could actually get the discussion on press freedom out. But I'm happy that it happened either way, because I think we were able to start some conversations.
Definitely, it's great to hear you. My last question would be to you. History remember the journalist who denied to remain silent and doesn't remember the government who tries to silence them. Your final comment on overall experience that you had.
I think, yeah, I think it's a good point that challenging will always be a great power of a journalist, to challenge the narrative, to challenge the status quo, to challenge the frame, challenge the setup, challenge your own government, challenge other governments, see the world as a whole, see how synergies are created from these moments, and challenge it. So for me, I think, yeah, it's to challenge is important, and hopefully, it would be fun if this started a conversation about press freedom in India that lasted. I think that would be a great accomplishment for me and for all the other journalists and talented people that have been discussing this today. It's not just, it's really not about me. It's more about everyone that has actually been wanting to discuss this issue, because I think I just hit a nerve. I hit a
Yes,
nerve with a
exactly. You
large part of
hit
the
the knob,
population.
which outrages
But it's
everything.
the Yeah, and I think that it's just the people then can discuss this, and hopefully maybe something good comes out of it.
Definitely, it will. And we will see that again. We'll have an opportunity to have this talk later someday.
Yeah, that'd be great. I hope so.
My final message to the world and to the Indian peoples that every independent journalist who are trying to questioning, support them because it is the revelations that they are doing for you. Because when a media is sick, you have to pay the cost for it. When media is not working properly, you are not getting your right. When media is not working, you could not speak properly to the system. When media is not working, you do not stand anywhere. You may lost in a great valley. So there is a great importance of a media in the country. That's why it is called the fourth pillar of a democracy. So my message would be when you see an independent journalist doing their job, it's your job to support them, to help them to grow, to watch their content. So keep watching, keep sharing, live life, and ask the tough question to the power.